The Fantasy Football edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by our Patreon. Score exclusive perks, content, and contests include our NFL win total contest, win a $1,000 prize. Join today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app to get last-minute tickets at the lowest price guaranteed. Use promo code SGPN for $20 off. We're also brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now and use code DJ. New customers can score $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5 or on any college football bet, only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code DJ. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SGPN Fantasy Football Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Emerson Beery. My co-host on the other side, Justin Bruni. How you doing, my friend?
Doing good. Happy Sunday. Ready to break down the top 50 players in fantasy football this year. Very exciting stuff.
Yes, this will be a two-part episode. We will be filming back-to-back. So, no, we're not wearing the same shirt. If you happen to be looking at this different days, no, we're not. We're just wearing the same shirt every day. We all filming these shows back-to-back. I was just telling Justin before the show as well, my dad's dog swallowed a sock this week, $5,500 later. I think he's going to be okay, but gosh
expensive
darn it.
Sock.
Oh my goodness. Yes. These gosh darn dogs, these bulldogs are going to take it out of me, I swear. But with that, we'll dive into it here. Top 50 players. Like you said, we're going to be covering the first 25 today. Justin, I usually offer you to start off with first, but you mind if I start off first today, just because
let it rip.
I want to bring it in hot to start off with. Jamar Chase.
Damn. Spicy.
Yes, absolutely. Jamar Chase is my first pick. I think he is the number one this year, just as Justin Jefferson, if I can talk today, took that step forward last season. I expect that to be the case with Jamar Chase in 2023. And this guy gets 10-plus targets every time he's out there with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is a better quarterback, of course, than Kirk Cousins. I expect this to be a better offense overall. Just even going back to the talent profile, I much preferred Jamar Chase, evaluating their talent. I think he is, it's going to be a 1A and 1B scenario going forward in Dynasty. Not that this is a Dynasty rankings, but going forward for the next few years. But Jamar Chase is my guy in 2023. I think he's got it. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's perfectly fine. I'm going Justin Jefferson, double tapping on him every single time. I have gotten quite a bit of Justin Jefferson in Best Ball Mania, just having a very high and rare exposure to that first overall pick. I never veered away. I just kept on the gas pedal with Justin Jefferson. I'll be doing the same. He'll be my next pick up here. I just think the situation is a little bit more friendly, especially for this upcoming season. If this is a dynasty conversation, I think that your pick fits the narrative a little bit more, just because, in another year, maybe T. Higgins leaves the Bengals. But looking at this season with the Vikings, the next top target getter, in my opinion, is going to be TJ Hawkinson. So I just feel like the competition is a little bit less. Obviously, you have an established run game with Joe Mixon as well. I think Chase Brown's going to get in the mix there. I think that they are going to lean on the run a little bit more so. And I'm not buying into it too much, but Joe Burrow, a little beat up, a little banged up entering the season. Maybe a couple or a few less spike weeks. And to start the season for Mr. Chase. We'll see. Again, nothing that I'm worried about, but Kirk Cousins feeling good, feeling right coming off that quarterbacks documentary. I like what looks to entail for the Vikings offense this upcoming season. Looks like it should be pass heavy, pass friendly. all these guys, including Justin Jefferson, should be feasting.
You know what I learned about Kirk Cousins in that documentary is that I know why he doesn't win. It's because he takes off Tuesdays to spend with his wife every week during football season.
Unreal.
That's why he doesn't win. Yeah, that's why he doesn't win. I couldn't believe that. So it's just like when you have that, I feel like your ceiling is always going to be capped. You know, it's Patrick Mahomes. If you're Patrick Mahomes, maybe you could think about taking your Tuesdays off. But I don't know if you're Kirk Cousins. But do you have anything to add on Justin Jefferson on why he is the first pick?
No, I still just believe he has the highest ceiling for total wide receiver production this season. I just think the offensive scheme is a little more friendly. If you want to say that the skill sets are even, by all means, I just think that the pass-heavy offense for the Viking is going to be full throttle for Justin Jefferson again this season. These two are the safest picks for players finishing top 3 within their position, for certain.
Yes, and speaking of safety, I'm going to be leaving the safety net of these elite wide receivers, and my third pick is Christian McCaffrey.
Okay.
I think, it still pays, and especially in redraft leagues, it still pays to hit on that running back, to have that elite running back on your team, because not many people will be getting 20 points a game from their running back position. Christian McCaffrey certainly has that within his range of outcomes. Very powerful running back. I expect him to. My only worry about Christian McCaffrey is potentially the 49ers getting out to a lot of early leads, just saying, hey, why don't we just take Christian McCaffrey out, save him for later on in the season. The schedule is a little bit easier this year with the NFC West being a little bit down. I was looking at the rest of their schedule too, although I can't remember it off the top of my head. It was a little while ago. It was a softer schedule than usual. So that's my only worry. I expect him to catch a lot of passes, nice, easy dump offs for Brock Purdy, who isn't a talented downfield thrower. I think we could say that lacks a lot of arm strength. So I think it'll be nice and easy for Christian McCaffrey to also get 6 or 7 targets a game. What are your thoughts?
No, he's going to be involved in the passing and the rushing offense for the Niners, an offense that's going to score a lot of points and be in the red zone a lot this upcoming season. I'm expecting some touchdown regression from George Kittle. I think he had about 6 in his last 3 games, 2, 2, 2. I think you have to have some regression there, as well as, some more, I think, high volume, opportunities for McCaffrey. I think everybody's worried about Elijah Mitchell kind of coming in, like you mentioned, whether it be in garbage time or just, them splitting touches in general, because the offense is going to run a lot and they're going to be safe with the workload for McCaffrey. But I think this is a guy that can easily get 30% of his of the team's total offensive touches. I think he's going to be a huge focal part for them this upcoming season. If you're spending, top 5 overall, collateral on a running back, he's definitely the guy that you want it to be, for sure.
Moving on to number 4, who is your selection? Imagine we're going back wide receiver.
Yeah, got to be Tyreek Hill here for me. Just the, explosion opportunity per play, whether he's breaking something open downfield, doing a 40-yard comeback route for Tua, whatever it is. McDaniel in this offense, they've really found a way to make sure that he is, the top priority. He's going to have the most touches, the most targets. Even last year when Tua was healthy, he well outcleared Waddle for targets. Even though Waddle put up, pretty good numbers, as a sophomore, you still saw Tyreek Hill really show that he's the lead guy there. So, for, kind of going back and forth between him or maybe Cooper Kupp, I just feel that Tyreek Hill's per play, production, I think is what outweighs that comparison for me, rather than going with Kupp. I like going with Hill, who I imagine will have more splash plays, can get used in the running game. I don't know if we're going to see him return kicks, but that certainly is also, on the table. I don't think that they're going to exclusively go with any one kick returner on whether it be, actual kick returns or punts, whatever. I think they'll get him out there, sparingly, we'll say. But they're just an offense that really wants to use him as their top priority. Even when you look at the Rams, I see, them spreading the ball around a little bit. Cooper Kupp also coming in a little bit banged up, a little bit injured. So I'm leaning Tyreek Hill here.
Did you have it that way before Cooper Kupp's injury?
Still had it that way, yeah.
Okay. All right. I have them back to back as well, but I have a slight preference toward Cooper Kupp. Before I dive into why Cooper Kupp is my 5th player, I just want to give one more shout out to our friends over at DraftKings. You waited all year and the time has finally arrived. College football is back, and so are the traditions, the tailgates, and the great offers from DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, new customers can score $200 in bonus bets instantly when they bet just $5 on any college football bet. This is a time, I was just talking about on my last podcast how great my Kansas Jayhawks are. I think they are going, we're in discussion for a winning season finally this year. We had it last year. I think we're going to get it back to back this year. I've been getting in on a lot of Kansas Jayhawk bets early on, and I've never even seen them posted early before. So that's nice to see as well. Kick off the season with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now and use code DGEN. New customers can score $200 in bonus bets instantly when they bet just $5 on any college football bet, only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code DGEN, DEGEN. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Virginia and so on, we will post those extra links in the comments down below. With that, do you want to dive? Oh, no, I'm up here and I'm going to be talking about why I'm taking Cooper Kupp at the 5th pick. That is right.
Yep. Fifth, couple picks
Cooper
behind
Kupp.
Here on the board.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to catch us up. Don't you worry. I have Cooper Kupp ahead of Tyreek Hill just by a very short margin. Cooper Kupp, number 1 in fantasy points per game last year. It's just this guy is the only guy I think in discussion. I mean, how many times can Matthew Stafford target Cooper Kupp in a game? I mean, this is a guy who might get 15 plus targets every game he's out there. Of course, that the law of averages will keep him from doing that. Maybe that plays into why he gets hurt so often. He's so used heavily. But man, it's tough for me. I know Tyreek Hill is the much more explosive athlete. He's going to have that big play ability that maybe Cooper Kupp doesn't necessarily have, but it's hard to agree with that. I just have a little bit more faith in Cooper Kupp getting a super high target share. Maybe if Tua, I know the health of both quarterbacks is a little bit in question. However, Cooper Kupp is just my slight lean just because it's so hard to argue against that kind of target volume. It's got even more razor thin, though, with that preseason injury. With that, do you want to dive into your 6th ranked player? I think I have an idea of where you're going. Maybe one of my favorite players.
Mr. Travis Kelce, the first tight end coming off the board here. You might as well consider him the Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver 1, an offense that will lead the league, in passing attempts, top 5 in total points scored. Obviously a great situation being paired with the best player in the NFL or quarterback, in the NFL, and Patrick Mahomes. A very good situation. I think we could see Kelce actually hit career numbers this year, get 150 plus targets, 120 catches, double-digit receiving touchdowns. He just doesn't have a ton of competition. Even last year with Juju Smith-Schuster, coming in, trying to supplant some Tyreek Hill production, we saw Kelce still lead the way and be the lead target getter, receiving yards, etc. So very excited about him this year. I just don't see Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, MVS, Richie James, Rashee Rice really competing with him on a per game fantasy point basis. I just still see him leading the way for this roster.
Travis Kelce, it's hard to argue the target volume. He's 33 years old, but he has no signs of slowing down. He is going to be the clear top target in Kansas City. I was talking up Rashee Rice on another show I was on right before this, had 8 catches, 96 yards, but he's not going to be it's just going to be who can pop off each week after Travis Kelce. So I really like that pick. I have him as
I think Richie James scored a touchdown in his first preseason game too. All those receivers, just random spike weeks, just random guy go off. Travis Kelce, steady and true.
It's hard to argue that Travis Kelce. Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce is something I've been going back and forth on so much. It's just that explosive, big playmaking wide receivers hard to pass up. But Travis Kelce, I think, is a tier above the rest of the players on this list. It reminds me of Rob Gronkowski. Yeah, when he was getting double-digit touchdowns back in the day, you're getting even more advantage. Right. Travis Kelce, I was looking at it the other day, has over almost a near 20-yard advantage, in tight end receiving yards per game over the course of their career. Just how long can he keep doing it?
Well, the reason why he's going this high is just the positional advantage that you're taking over. You are removing an entire facet of fantasy football, which is attacking tight end every week, just filling in a boom or bust tight end into your roster slot, or rock stock Travis Kelce all year long. You don't even have to blink, Kelce's on his bye, so this is the one time I have to figure out, what boom or bust tight end I want to plug in, and you probably don't even own another tight end, if you're in a redraft league, basic, 18 team redraft league. If you draft Kelsey, you probably don't even draft another tight end. You just grab one off of waivers during his bye week.
Before we dive into our next player, just giving one more shout out to gametime.co. If you've been like me, I've been going to concerts, sporting events. I'm always trying to load my tickets up on my phone right before the show. The internet connection or something's getting me. The tickets just aren't loading. I've had this happen thousands of times to me, but not over at Game Time. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over tickets and start getting hyped for the fun that you'll have instead. Like I said, it's just so easy to access your tickets. It's so easy to purchase them. They give you great prices as well. I don't shop anywhere else. If Game Time has what I'm offering, that is the app I am using. What are some of the things what I like about the Game Time experience? The flash deals and last minute tickets, easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area, and images of seat views, lowest price guarantee, event cancellation, prioritization, and job loss protection. This is the time to get your tickets. Like I said, don't struggle with bad ticket apps anymore. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. The Game Time guarantee means you'll always get the best price if you find tickets in the same section and row for less. Game Time will credit you 100% of the difference. It's the fastest growing ticketing app in the country. For that reason, get images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps, and you're set. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code SGPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code SGPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right. We are back now. Going over to the 7th ranked player. I have it here. It's a very close rate. I have Stephon Diggs. I didn't like putting Stephon Diggs here, but I have Stephon Diggs here. It was really close between him and CeeDee Lamb. I think it's the dynasty player and me wanting to put CeeDee Lamb ahead of him. It's the hope. I have, CeeDee Lamb. I saw him taking over that wide receiver one that I expected him to do last season. Very consistent, but it's hard to argue with Stephon Diggs and the Josh Allen connection, this very good offense. I think he's going to get it one more year. I saw there were chinks in the armor last year when Josh Allen was injured. You saw the drop off in Stephon Diggs' production, especially those final few weeks of the season. I got back to it a little bit in the playoffs, but yeah, struggled those final few weeks of the regular season. But if you had him through the fantasy playoffs, you might not have made it through the fantasy playoffs. So Stephon Diggs, I expect to have bounce back though. Josh Allen recovered from that elbow injury. Where does he slot in your rankings?
At 7. So I think you're spot on. I think it's a good spot for him, coming after Hill, Kupp, and Kelsey, who, when you're looking at it, he's going to have similar volume to these guys. I just think that those 3 players are more efficient and have, like Kelsey, a bigger positional advantage than Stephon Diggs does coming off the board as, wide receiver 5. So I think that this is pretty, atypical per the public ADP. Chase, Jefferson, however you cut it, Hill, Kupp, however you cut it, and now is going to start this next, third tier of receivers in, Lamb, Diggs, maybe AJ Brown into that conversation as well. And when you're looking at those next 3, Diggs is definitely a far and away, higher just because of that safe target floor. I think he's had over 150 in 3 straight seasons. They haven't overly invested at the receiver. Gabe Davis still there. Some folks are calling Dalton Kincaid a receiver, not me. I still think that there's a great opportunity for Diggs to succeed in this offense this year. Should be their top priority guy.
Yeah, before the show, I really wanted to ask you, how much do you expect Dalton Kincaid to eat into that Stephon Diggs target share?
I just don't.
I'm just kidding. That was a joke. That was a joke. I knew you were.
I think if anything, this could be a season where he gets up to like 160 plus targets, just because, again, after Gabe Davis, James Cook, where do you see a high amount of volume coming from? I just think it could mean more Stephon Diggs.
I completely agree. I think Stephon Diggs is certainly going to have it for one more season here. Dalton Kincaid, I like him a lot more than you do, but I don't think he's a threat to Stephon Diggs.
Tight end 12, way too expensive.
That's expensive, certainly.
Yeah,
but
I can't do
who
that.
else are you going to draft? It's the upside. It's like, oh man, who are these
I'm
other
going to
names?
draft
I know.
like a handful of tight ends after tight end 12. I'll tell you that much. It's super deep position this year.
All right. Where are you going with the 8th pick?
I think I have up Bijan. Yeah, Bijan Robinson.
I'll catch us up on the board as well.
Yep.
Bijan
so taking
Robinson at number 8.
taking him ahead of Austin Eckler. I just feel like this, rookie potential because he has, few NFL miles. They're going to overload him with opportunities and touches. If you've watched any little bit of him in the preseason so far, he is an absolute magnet with his hands. He just pulls, the ball down to his chest and just goes. It's so effortless for him. I think that he's going to be used a lot as a receiver, a running back. We're now seeing Cordell Patterson hurt. He was definitely in their plans. I think that gives Bijan even a little bit more of an uptick. And just the fact that the team is still kind of, banging the drum for Tyler Algier, like they're saying that he's going to rush the ball. I just feel like that means that Bijan is going to be used more so as a receiver, in an offense that's going to be, continuously hungry for playmaking, with shorter route running, more of like a West Coast type of style offense with a, developing quarterback in Desmond Ridder. I think, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, they'll get theirs, but the focal point of this offense is going to be Bijan. That's why they spent that high draft capital on him. I'm very safe that he is going to get at least 300 plus touches this year and could get in that 60 to 70 reception total range.
Did you get excited watching those second preseason game highlights? That first run, that was nice. Weaving in and out of 4 players, nice 8 to 10 yard gain.
Well, just like I said, though, just like how effortlessly he pulls the ball in. Like he makes a one-handed catch, turns his body, like spins around, pulls it down to his chest and goes. Like he is what you dream for, as a pass receiving running back. It's a great situation. I think it's very close between him and Eckler. I just like the fact that the Chargers have, they've really developed their talent pool, not necessarily at running back, but they have a deep group of receivers, behind Keenan and Mike Williams, and now Quentin Johnston, Josh Palmer. A lot of us still like Gerald Everett. So I just feel like that offense, they're not as hungry for weapons as, the Falcons will be with Bijan, because they just need that change of pace guy. Like, yeah, Tyler Algier, he was good, but it's not like he offered like some like booming production at a level that like changes your offense, that like, changes the identity of your team. Falcons scored, 15th most points per game last season. With Bijan in town, I think they can easily be in like that 10 to 12 conversation.
I can't. It's just the Falcons offense. I just can't. I'm just worried about how much he'll be on the field. I liked what I saw from Desmond Ridder in the second preseason game. I thought he looked pretty sharp, but still just a little nervous about this offense, the touchdowns, the amount of carries he's able to get. Not necessarily the amount of the work, but just, if he's not able to extend drives, the offense isn't going to run as many plays, just little things like that. With that, though, now I'm going to take who I was going back and forth with Stephon Diggs with. I'm going to take CeeDee Lamb. I expect him to really officially make his name among the best wide receivers in the NFL this season. We finally saw, after Amari Cooper left last year, we see CeeDee Lamb take that step forward. He was that dominant wide receiver, especially those final 8 weeks of the season. I think we see a lot more of that this year. The Cowboys, I think, were middle of the pack, 15th to like 17th in pass attempts last year. I think they'll get right back to, or at least on pace, I believe, when Dak Prescott was out there. That was like their pace. I think that's going to change much more to like that top 5, top 6, 7 area like they were back to previous years. And there's just not – CeeDee Lamb is by far and away the best target. Brandon Cooks, I think, is a nice player to have, but I think there's plenty to go around there. I think CeeDee Lamb, I think he's going to have a top 5 wide receiver finish in 2023. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I love me some CeeDee Lamb this year. One of my top 5 most exposed wide receivers in best ball, up to over 120 plus best ball mania drafts collected as of yet. I like Devontae Adams a little bit more just because I feel like he's just such a larger focal point in his offense. I know that they have Josh Jacobs most likely coming back, but in an offense that I expect is going to pass the ball a lot still, be playing from behind, I still lean a little bit more favorably in in Davante Adams' corner, just a smidge. I think the offense might be a little bit more efficient for the Cowboys. I think that they could be in the scoring zone a little bit more often. It's just that I feel like Tony Pollard is going to be a big part of what they do. And when they get in a little bit more close, Jake Ferguson, I think he's going to be a nice piece that develops. They also brought in Brandon Cooks. The offense is a little bit deeper and a little bit better than I feel it was in years past. So, even with Zeke not coming back, they should pass the ball more, but they've kind of, gotten the weapons to do that. They added Brandon Cooks, like I said. Jalen Tolbert, he's having a good training camp, not someone that I'm overly buying in on, but I just like Davante Adams a little bit more. I think he's, farther ahead of, the guys like Hunter Renfrow, Jacoby Myers, and we'll see what happens if Josh Jacobs comes back, but that would be the only pushback for me. So you can take him off the board next. We'll just move kind of past him at the, what is it? We at 10 now or?
Yes, that'll be the 10th player. Before you jump into Davante Adams, though, I just want to give one more shout out to our Patreon page. Make sure to check out our Patreon. Sign up for the Patreon to get access to exclusive contests, including the NFL win totals contest with a $1,000 first place prize. The guys just recorded their first sports gambling stories podcast, just for patrons only, chronicling the birth of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. There's even a Discord channel as well, just for the patrons as well. The Sports Gambling Podcast has and always will give out all their picks for free. Patreon is a great way to support the network and fight back against corporate gambling. SportsGamblingPodcast.com/Patreon. That's SportsGamblingPodcast.com/Patreon. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. The NFL season is right around the corner, and Underdog NFL Pick'em is a great way to get down on your favorite over and under picks. They even got college football and NFL preseason. And of course, make sure to enter Best Ball Mania 4, where first place gets $3 million. Give out an Underdog Pick'em you like, which my favorite is right now. I finally just got it in Colorado, and I've just been going over and over it, just like digesting it. I didn't have it last year or the year before. Mm-hmm. I just cannot. How can you not go over on the Chiefs win total? They get it every single season. It fluctuates. Have you seen it like these last couple of days? It always is changing. I think it was at 11.5 last time I saw it.
Seems like a slam dunk to me.
Yeah, it always is. It's Chiefs, my Kansas City Chiefs. I think they cashed it like 6 out of the last 7 years. So that is my
Your boy Derrick Henry over 9.5 rushing touchdowns as well.
Ooh, I like that. This is the guy right here. This is the guy who spends a lot on those. Like I said, I'm just getting my feet wet this year. Thank you for finally adding it in Colorado Underdog. Much appreciated. My Sundays will be even more filled than they already are. But with that, all right, Davante Adams is your next guy up. My only reason for taking CeeDee Lamb is just, man, could this offensive situation in Las Vegas be a disaster? But it might not matter with that target volume, right?
Well, yeah, he had 100 catches on 180 targets last year. Still a top 5 wide receiver. I think the situation is, if not better, in the sense that he should be more efficient. Like the A dot's going to come down. He's going to be less of a deep field threat, but I think that you see more of like a 130 for 160 type of season. Like maybe you see a few less targets, but the efficiency increases because what Garoppolo does well is get the ball out of his hands quickly. He has a great release. And as long as you're hitting Davante Adams in stride, there's not much the defense can do. I mean, let's be real. He's still one of the best receivers in the league. So I just think the opportunity and the skill set, I think still favors him a little bit more so, just because I don't see CeeDee Lamb getting over 155. I think like that's his cap. We saw last season Adams get 180 in a bad offense that really was held together by Josh Jacobs. Like 100 catches on 180 targets is pretty bad. I'm expecting they clean that up with a quarterback that's not going to look to take risks downfield and be more of a West Coast type of quarterback where he's just dinking and dunking and creating plays for his guys in stride like Davante Adams.
I liked how Jimmy, I saw from him in the first preseason game, nice, efficient drive, 4 for 4, led him to a touchdown. I think Davante Adams, of course, it'll be a little bit different working with a quarterback like Jimmy, working with Aaron Rodgers. Derek Carr, even though he doesn't get talked about, he has a pretty big arm on him too. Of course, Davante Adams had that much higher ADOT. I think it'll probably go back, revert the other direction, probably nice short dink and dunk passes like he did with Aaron Rodgers. But right. I have Davante Adams. That would have been my next pick, back to back. So I totally get it. It's just I like the exciting prospects of maybe a better offense with CeeDee Lamb. My
That's
next
fair.
player is Amon-Ra St. Brown. Can't be drafting
Spicy. Love it. Love it.
Can't draft him enough. I think he's in for a big year this year, going to be kind of in that 150, 160 target range, especially with Jameson Williams out the first couple weeks. Jared Goff, or first 6 weeks, I should say. Jared Goff, we know what he does behind a productive offensive line. I know how much you love Jared Goff. So, I mean, how could Amon-Ra St. Brown not finish this high as much as you love Jared Goff? Am I right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The only player that I have ranked ahead of him would be Austin Eckler. And I think just at that position where you're getting to, I still think it's appropriate to, grab some of the better running backs. It's still an important position. So I would probably I'd have Eckler ahead of Lamb. Yeah, those three guys. He would come right after Robinson, the way that we have it set up. But Amon-Ra is in a great situation again this year. The Lions did not make significant improvements on defense. They were a bottom 5 defense last year. Expect them to be in a lot of high-scoring games or playing from behind, whichever it is. And there really is no other candidate to be the top team's target getter other than Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, I know that we're all excited about him in the fantasy football community, and Jameson Williams when he gets back as well. But this is going to be Amon-Ra's offense. He is going to have most likely the most touches because in that backfield, again, you have Gibbs and Montgomery. They're going to kind of eat into each other's productivity and total volume and opportunities. So I think that Amon-Ra will have the most, all-purpose yards in this offense. He gets used a lot, at a low yardage kind of target rate. So I do think that they try to open things up for him somewhat more so downfield this year, especially while Jameson Williams is out. But look for him to be a very safe and secure safety blanket for Jared Goff this year. Going to be just constantly moving the chains.
For those that don't know, me and Justin have a bet to shave our head for who's going to win, who's going to score more fantasy points, Deshaun Watson or Jared Goff. I'll have to say there's not many people that think you're going to win this bet when I talk to him about that.
That's funny because there's not many people that say that you're going to win when I talk to him about that.
Oh my gosh.
I wish you were in Canton. That would have been a nice little, hey, I'm Justin, I'm Emerson. And by the way, what's your opinion on this?
Oh, that would have been good. Oh man.
What's your opinion on this?
I can't wait to see Justin with you a shaved head in December. It'll be a nice Christmas gift to your wife. I think she'll get a kick out. Maybe she won't get a kick out. Maybe it'll be the anti-Christmas present to your wife.
We'll see, buddy.
Hopefully she has a nice sense of humor about it.
Deshaun Watson can't complete passes on consecutive drives, in training camp right now. Just saying.
Oh my goodness, Deshaun Watson. I think he's
looking a little rusty.
I think he's going to get back to being one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL this season. Maybe we'll get to that.
Maybe he'll get back to Jared Goff level. We'll see.
My gosh. Jared Goff has never sniffed Deshaun Watson level. Jared Goff doesn't know how to operate.
Damn.
Hey, do you watch the sketch comedy show on Netflix? It's the Tim Robinson. Is that it?
I'm not sure. Is that the Flight of the Conchords?
No, it's never mind. It's this ridiculous kind of sketch comedy show. It has like this ridiculous kind of humor. But anyway, somebody posted a meme from that. One of the guys who's just like, he's like, I have no idea what I'm doing right now. And, he's all panicked. And it was Jared Goff went with pressure in the pocket. You know what I mean? So, but he might not have to worry about it this year with the Detroit Lions having such a strong offensive line.
We'll see. Strong offensive line, bad defense. It's just a constant good, positive game script for throwing a lot of yards and passing touchdowns.
All right. No, it's you up next. Where are you going with the 2-2, my friend?
It's got to be Eckler then. Just get him on here. Like I had said before, it's still good to prioritize the position. Still very important. Still a guy that's going to get you, 20 plus fantasy points per game out of the running back slot. Deadly weapon and an offense that I believe everyone is predicting to score a lot of points this year, turn around and turn the corner from last season when Justin Herbert was injured. Mike Williams, Keenan Allen kind of taking their turns when they're in and out of the lineup. So still a lot of positivity and good notes coming out of the Chargers camp. Just the fact that there is a little bit more talent on the roster, especially in the passing offense, I think that potentially lowers his receiving ceiling, but I still think that he's going to be a guy that crushes his yardage. Kellen Moore had 2 running backs clear 1,000 rushing yards, last season in Zeke and Tony Pollard. I'm excited to see what he does and draws up for Austin Eckler as just a pure runner, let alone in the receiving and passing game. So a lot of things to still be excited about for Austin Eckler. Like I said, I would still have him inside the top 10 ahead of a couple of these receivers here that we just discussed.
You took Devontae Adams, just so you know.
That's because I have Devontae Adams just ahead of him. That's why.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I was like, you took Devontae Adams.
So I have it Bijan 8, Devontae 9, Eckler 10, Lamb 11, Amon-Ra 12.
Okay. That makes sense. I like those. I can't argue with much of that. My concern with Austin Eckler is, of course, his production has relied, of course, a lot on the pass catching and touchdowns. I think both could come down this year. The touchdowns are just a little bit more natural. He's been a touchdown machine. I think I had the stat last week. I think he's had like 14 more touchdowns. Like it's an absurd number how much more touchdowns he's had over the last 2 years than the next closest person. It's like 14 more touchdowns.
Right.
And of course, he's caught in a lot more passes as well, more than any other running back over that span as well. Christian McCaffrey, of course, missed a lot of 2021. But it's just a lot, I think. There's going to be a lot of changes in this offense. The addition of Kellen Moore means, I believe, that there's going to be a lot more downfield passing as long as Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are healthy. I expect them to be a bigger part of the offense. Of course, they added Quentin Johnston, Gerald Everett. There's a lot to be thrown, so I think they're going to be featuring that a little more this year. He's not going to get a lot of rush attempts. I expect him to have a very good season, just a little bit less. That's why I have him a little bit back here and behind A.J. Brown as well. A.J. Brown, I think, proved a lot of people wrong last year, including me. First, we'll go to Parker really quick. Who do you think is better between Dalton Schultz and Chig Okonkwo? It's funny. You can go to my article this week on SGPN and talk about and those are two tight ends I talk about who are set to disappoint in 2023. Justin actually likes both of these guys, so I
do.
So who do you like more? I personally, I like Chig, but it's barely.
I would say Dalton Schultz just because I think there's a clear path for him to be second highest for targets on his roster. I still think Burks comes back, takes a little bit of that passing share. Obviously, you have Hopkins there. You're kind of just waiting for both of those guys to be out of the lineup for Chig to have, immense value, the value I think that people were kind of expecting coming into the season. My co-host Andrew Robb, he had him as a top 8 tight end. I know Sean Green, our boss, he had him as like literally top 3. I know that there is some hot take type of excitement around Chig, but I think that Schultz has a safer floor, could be easily getting 6 to 7 targets a game. I just see that clearly in his wheelhouse, in an offense that's going to be bad, team that's going to be bad. Other than Nico Collins, I don't see an immense threat for targets. I know that Tank Dell's getting a lot of talk, but I still see him as being like a 4 to 5 target type of guy, just because you have a lot of guys there like Zave Hutchinson, Rob Woods, John Mechie. Like there's a lot of moving pieces there. I think Schultz safest floor between the two.
Fun fact: there are 38 punters in the NFL slated to have a higher base salary than Dalton Schultz this season. I'm just kidding. That's just fun.
Somebody said on this made me laugh really hard. Somebody said on Reddit, Dalton Schultz got paid a lot of money. I was like, oh damn. Oh damn.
Yeah,
that's
not a lot, but it's a little bit misconstrued. I have fun playing with it, but they did give him like $5 million in roster bonuses, which means they're paying that out over the next like 4 years. So they essentially signed to a 1-year contract, but it's like 3 void years on the end. So it's like a super weird contract, but he got like $6 million total for this season. So I just like to give him a hard time, but because it's a funny contract. But like I said, I think the NFL teams not having more respect for Dalton Schultz could tell us something, but that is a topic for another episode, because we're going to keep diving into these rankings here. A.J. Brown, over 1,500 receiving yards last year, really proved me wrong in a run first offense. I questioned whether all these receivers could be productive, and they certainly were. Dallas Goedert, of course, missed some time, but it wasn't like a crazy swing in their stats when he went with the games he was gone. So I think A.J. Brown is in for another successful season. I don't think it's going to be quite as good as last season. It's super hard to match. He was so good last year, but maybe he will. I mean, the argument is that I guess the Philadelphia Eagles, of course, did not play in the fourth quarter of a lot of games because they had such a big lead. So maybe with a more competitive schedule, A.J. Brown is going to be released a bit more. I expect it to be a little bit more pass heavy. The run the run metrics are a little bit swayed because they had so many early leads last year. So I expect him to get a little bit more in the middle of the road of the passing. So that'll be great for AJ Brown too. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no argument here. I think that he's kind of that consolation at either the end of your first round, the beginning of your second round. If you're trying to go wide receiver heavy, I really don't like starting with him as my first wide receiver drafted. I would prefer to get him kind of paired up here in that corner, in that 1-2 corner with like an Adams or an Amon-Ra, just because, again, that offense really good, but they are going to run the ball a lot. You have the emergence of Devonta Smith, a lot of eyes on Dallas Goedert. I just feel like they're a very deep group, and that's why he's coming in after some of these other top guys. So very good pick. But again, unless it's like a deeper 14-team league, I'm looking to get him paired up with one of these guys in that corner, maybe him and Eckler, him and Adams, etc.
And I like it. I'm a big wide receiver heavy right now, but it's about to flip. The switch is about to flip. I have a lot of running backs coming up here. Who's your next player?
Let's see. CD, Amon-Ra, AJ. I have DK Metcalf, someone I am huge on this year. Been pulling him up my Best Ball Mania draft boards. I think he is my most exposed player now, closing in on about $900. I just think that offense is going to be very good in Seattle. You have the addition now of JSN. You have a steady run game in Kenneth Walker, adding Zach Charbonnet to that group. I just feel this team's going to score a lot of points, be in the red zone a lot. And DK Metcalf, I believe, was targeted 46% of red zone targets last season for Seattle. Even if that dips a little bit, that's an insane amount of target opportunity in the scoring zone. I think this team's going to be in that area a lot, and they are going to put DK Metcalf to work. Give me over 1,200 receiving yards. Probably not a guy that's going to get, over 100 catches, probably somewhere in like that 90 to 95, catch range. But his just big playability and, in my opinion, ability to bring back double-digit receiving touchdowns this year warrants him, being this high. 14th highest overall player for me right now. I had him right behind AJ Brown, and I have him right ahead of Saquon Barkley. So like right before that next run of like elite running backs.
Yep, he's my wide receiver 10, so I'm a lot higher than consensus as well. We saw Geno Smith was a very accurate deep passer last year. DK Metcalf, a very productive deep target that didn't connect last year for some reason. And so I expect that to change. I think DK Metcalf is going to, maybe any drop off in targets is going to be made up for by bigger plays, one that we're traditionally see from DK Metcalf, and more touchdowns. So I completely agree. Up next for me is Derrick Henry. I'm a lot higher than consensus. Just give me Derrick. Let's not think too hard about this. It's Derrick Henry. It's a redraft league. In 1 year league, I'm totally willing to bet that Derrick Henry is an anomaly, and we're going to get one more great season from Derrick Henry. That wouldn't surprise me at all. I think, of course, when he's ranked down in RB7, RB8 territory, are we not just banking on the wheels falling off due to age?
No, I think that a lot of people are scared about that and just not having that finished product because he was hurt last year. People just get that bad taste in their mouth. I think that he should be higher than consensus, but I do have.
Was he hurt last year? I hardly remember him being hurt. He might have missed. Did he miss like the last game or something?
He missed, I think, 3 or 4 games, something like that. I can pull it up here really quick. Yeah, no, it's one of those situations where you look at the production, and you're like, oh yeah, that's like a full season. Let me see. He missed. I guess he just missed. I guess he did just miss 1 game.
Yeah, he missed a lot of time the year before.
Maybe that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless, you still laid out the narrative, right? Like, getting up there in age, has a lot of miles under him. The way that he plays is a physical downhill runner. At some point, like there has to be an opportunity for him to get hurt, miss some time, etc. Misremembering the out weeks for the last 2 seasons, but someone that I'm still a lot higher on. He is my second highest exposed player. I get a lot of DK Metcalf and Derrick Henry. I just get him at a little bit better value than this. I typically still get to draft him behind Saquon Barkley, Nick Chubb, guys like Jalen Waddle. So I still have those guys ahead. Maybe it's just because I'm leaning more into like the public ADP, but I would agree, definitely at least based off of, how exposed I am to him for a season long, massive tournament like Best Ball Mania. I prioritize him, definitely in this space as well. Top 5 running back, period. I like Nick Chubb a lot.
That I I was thinking about it really tough between those two. Who is our 16th player?
It's Nick Chubb.
All right, perfect.
Yeah, it's Nick
That would have
Chubb.
been my next pick as well. Nick Chubb could be in for his best season to date. Come on, it's Deshaun Watson, the comeback, and Nick Chubb. I think we're getting in for a terrific season. Why is Nick Chubb the next player?
He is just the focal point of his offense. You have some vacated work available with the departure of Kareem Hunt. The offense, for passing is a little bit better. They bring in Elijah Moore. Cedric Tillman's getting a ton of love in training camp. If he can come in and be an impactful player, that's going to give them some real depth in the passing game. Still have Amari Cooper, still have Donovan Peoples-Jones. David Njoku was having a career season last year before he was missing time. So I think just the offense in general is looking really good. Nick Chubb's going to be the focal point. He's going to have the most touches, the most all production, all purpose yards available, for the team. I think it's just a very good situation. I like Jerome Ford a lot, but he doesn't feel like a guy that threatens for touches like Kareem Hunt. He feels more like a guy that's just going to come in, give Chubb that breather, and then, Chubb's going to be in line for, all the big scoring plays, high-end red zone touches, etc. So it's wheels up for him. I have him as my fourth highest running back. I would have Barkley, then Henry.
Yeah, I think Nick Chubb's in for a top 5 season. I think this offense is going to be very good. There's going to be more of course, Nick Chubb was on pace for a great season last year, and then he fell off a little bit with Deshaun Watson. That was just due to lack of touchdown. He didn't have a single. I think he either had 0 or 1 touchdown in his final 8 or 9 games. That's going to lead to a disaster, especially for a guy who doesn't catch a lot of passes. I expect that to change. I think this offense is going to be very good. I think it's going to be a little bit more balanced, but when you take away Kareem Hunt and not a significant other running backs take away carries, I don't think that will affect Nick Chubb's workload. Might even see a few more targets. So Nick Chubb, somebody I like a lot in 2023. My next player, though, is Saquon Barkley. He is going to get it through sheer volume. He is going to get a ton of work this year in what could be his final season with the New York Giants. They're not going to be afraid to work him into the ground. Going to get a lot of work in the pass game, of course, as well. Yeah, just not a very, I think just Saquon Barkley, I think maybe his esteem has fallen off, just overall player, not a very efficient player at this point in his career. He's just not, just not a great pure rusher. He kind of hits the wrong holes, lacks great vision, just a fantastic athlete. And that's what Saquon Barkley is, but he's going to once again get a ton of work. So despite maybe him not being too efficient on his carries, I think he gets it done regardless. What are your thoughts on Saquon Barkley's 2023 outlook?
Yeah, as long as he's healthy and he's playing games, he should be out there giving you some, great return on fantasy value, good value at his ADP. You're able to, get somebody in the first round. I do see him going as early as the start of the second round. Really just depends on how your league is valuing running backs as first round, collateral. If you're seeing more of them go, then you'll probably see Barkley in that turn. But someone that I absolutely love this year, another player who's just a huge focal point of the team's offense, going to have the most touches, all-purpose yards, etc. You don't have any receivers that are going to overly demand, pushing the ball downfield. So look for him to be involved in all aspects. And he has no, like Eckler, he has no competition for touches. Can you tell me who the backups are for the Giants?
Like Joshua Corbin, Eric Gray, or Evan Hall. Is it Eric Gray? Which one's on the Colts and which one's on the Giants? Why am I forgetting? Eric Hall and Eric Gray.
What about James Robinson? What you know about James Robinson?
Oh yeah, James Robinson, of course. Yeah, hey, you know what? We saw Cam Akers look worlds better a year and a half post surgery. So it would not surprise me to see James Robinson regain a lot of that burst.
So it's Matt Breida, Eric Gray, and Gary Brightwell, and James Robinson. None of these guys are going to take the ball out of his hands. Maybe there's some threat from Dan Jones being a rushing quarterback. Maybe he might steal a touchdown here and there, but you're not going to see any of these other running backs come in and take significant volume away from him. If he were to get hurt, they would probably just sign someone off the streets. Oh, hey, finally Leonard Fournette gets a job now.
Who is your 18th player off the board after Saquon Barkley? Does the running back run end here?
Yeah, we have Jalen Waddle. Just still in a very good situation with the Dolphins offense that's going to constantly be vertical. It's always fast. He's a big playability receiver, someone who can smash at a high A dot, especially when you have the opportunity to play coincide with Tyreek Hill. It opens up a lot of opportunities, and he doesn't get that double or premier coverage from defenses. So team that's going to score a lot of points. It's also going to be playing in a competitive division. I expect to be playing in some high scoring matchups. Give me Jalen Waddle here. I feel pretty good. Again, I want to get him as probably my second wide receiver. I don't draft too many teams with a running back and then Jalen Waddle. If I'm getting Jalen Waddle at this territory or this ADP, I'm double tapping on wide receiver through rounds 1 and 2.
Is this ranking contingent on a fully healthy season from Tua, or are you hedging a little bit? Maybe Tua
no.
missing a couple games?
I think that people are still kind of overreacting. Like, it's tough to say, oh, this player's gonna get hurt. If we use that narrative, too often or too, let's just say not conservatively, you have a lot of slippery slopes in fantasy football. Like, you can talk yourself into anything. So I'm gonna, make this pick based off of Tua being healthy for the majority of the season.
We don't want to let him bet on injuries, so I like that line of thinking as well. My next player up, though, is in a similar line of thought. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to get back out there, so I have him up here. I know the storylines haven't been great, although I just was reading today that they expect him back at camp. It's been tumultuous. I can't say that word. I can't say the word that I'm looking for right now.
Temecula.
It's something. It's something is what the Jonathan Taylor situation is, but
it's not great.
I think, especially with Anthony Richardson out there, I think he's going to get an absurd amount of work as long as Jonathan Taylor is not in like a state of mind where he's like, screw the Colts, I'm not going to play my best. I think, which is hard, which you can't do in the NFL. These are grown men out there. You're going to get hurt if you're not giving your full effort. And I expect him to be out there. So I think Jonathan Taylor is still a top 20 pick. He's probably going at a nice discount even right now, considering that I think he's.
I have him parked at 27, so a bit of a difference here. Okay. Just not a situation I'm comfortable buying into. Not knowing what I'm getting myself into, whether he's going to be traded, whether he's going to get limited playing time, just because there's been obviously a disconnect between him, the team, the front office. When you're not playing and you're missing time, whether it's personal reasons or being physically inactive, whatever it is, there creates a disconnect even in the playbook. And you're running with a rookie QB. I just don't see them having any priority or committedness.
Oh man, we're struggling today.
Slurring our words. I just don't think, they're overly committed to him right now. I feel like it could be one of these backups opportunities again this year. You might see a random, Deion Jackson, season. I'm just not sure what they're going to give Taylor if they're not going to pay him, if they're not going to be, connecting on some type of long-term relationship. I don't see them being necessarily overly loyal to him. Might change, might be completely the opposite. But right now, where we're at, end of August, I'm not spending that type of ADP. I'll pay for him at the dip. Like 7 to 10 picks back, I'll buy in. You can. There's always a price on everybody. I'd say 7 to 10 picks after ADP. That'll do it for me for Johnny Taylor.
Who's at number 20?
Garrett Wilson. I had him at 19, in line for a very good season. Rookie of the Year winner last year as a receiver. For the Jets, having Mike White, Zach Wilson, and Joe Flacco as his quarterbacks and walking away with Rookie of the Year, I think that's saying a bit. That gives him a nice little resume builder, patter, whatever you want to look at it. Coming in with the most efficient quarterback of all time in Aaron Rodgers, going to do him right. Easily see over 1,200 receiving yards, easily 105 plus catches. I think he's going to be their big volume guy. Now you have Dalvin Cook coming in, obviously Breece Hall getting healthier as well. The team will probably look to run the ball a lot, but they don't have a very good offensive line. So I see them needing and, getting into situations where they need to make big plays, and where Garrett Wilson is getting that premium high-end volume at an efficient rate with one of the better quarterbacks of all time in Aaron Rodgers. Big on Aaron Rodgers numbers this year. If you look at, what those 3 years he had with Nathaniel Hackett, how that can translate into this season. He should have over 4,000 passing yards, should have over 28 passing touchdowns, under 8 interceptions. All of that production is going to flow majority of the way to Garrett Wilson. It's going to be a great spot for him this year.
Yeah, I just wonder, it's a little bit, all of these changing offensive situations. I know he got it done in a very imperfect situation last year. I just wonder if this is a bit towards his ceiling, just considering Aaron Rodgers might have had the best days of all. I expect this especially with the addition of Dalvin Cook, I think we're going to get right back into Green Bay. Low volume passing. You don't really think of that when you think of Aaron Rodgers, but run heavy, kind of low ADOT, getting hitting Garrett Wilson on slants and things like that. I just wonder if I think this is a little bit toward the ceiling, but I think he gets there. So I think it's a safe pick.
Well,
but I just don't think he has
the
room
market
to
is very high
this.
on him, though.
Absolutely.
The market's super high on him. Like, you could switch DK and Garrett Wilson here on our board, and that would be more indicative of what the market looks like right now.
I think he goes a little higher on our underdog drafts too than I think you'll see at a typical office league. I think
he goes the 12 to 14 turn in best ball right now.
Yeah, I think that's a lot. I think that's a lot higher than your typical office league, your friends league that you'll be playing in.
Right.
So it just depends on where you're at. But up next, I do have Tony Pollard. My continuing the running back train here. This is where I really like the running back value. I think we're getting running backs. I had him. All these running backs that we were taking, Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Saquon Barkley, and now Tony Pollard, Jonathan Taylor. These were all running backs I think would typically go in round one, end of round one. And now because of the way that fantasy players are adjusting, now they're going at the end of round two, round three turn. So I think that represents a good opportunity. Tony Pollard, I've heard people call him potentially the RB1, people that I respect. Going to get a lot of passing work potentially this year. Total bell cow, extremely productive in his opportunities. I just worry. I guess my only concern is, can he take that bell cow role and stay healthy? I guess is my only concern about Tony Pollard.
Right. Well, he's returning from a broken leg, and I had my concerns as well. Shout out to our SGPN fantasy doctor, Sebastian Fioran. He has set me down the path, and he is not even a Cowboys fan. He's a big Giants fan. And he spoke some truth into my ears, saying he's going to be fine. He's going to come back. He's checking all the boxes that he should be, and he looks good. And if he gets the workload that they're saying he's going to be in that top 5 to 8 running back conversation. The passing work may increase, but he's not necessarily been a guy that just cleans up on PPR value. It comes from the total volume that he gets. He is a more explosive running back than, say, his counterpart last year than Zeke Elliott. But they also have some speed out of the backfield and Deuce Vaughn, who I think will get involved. But him or Malik Davis, they're not going to take the ball out of Pollard's hand with any significant volume. So it just rest assured that he's going to be a good pick this year based on the fact that he's their guy. Like, he is their guy on the ground, and when they're not cutting it up between, CeeDee Lamb or Brandon Cooks or, letting Michael Gallup ruin our lives.
Who is up at number 22?
Let's clear through these next 3 here. So 22, 23, and 24. Let's just hit the quarterbacks here to end this episode so we can pivot over to part 2. You good with that?
I don't have just quarterbacks here, but
if
okay.
I have it 3 straight.
I know you do. I don't have it that way.
Well, then let's do it how you have it. I'll just say Patrick Mahomes.
We're going to do rapid fire here. All right, quarterback Patrick Mahomes. I only disagree because I think he's the best player in football. I'm a Kansas City fan. Of course, I think that. However, he's going to have to elevate the offense every week. Without that rushing upside, can he get there? Up next for me, I have Josh Jacobs. Once again, come on. This guy had 2,000 all-purpose yards last year. Let's not think too hard about this. This guy's going to get a ton of work once again in what could be another final year with his team. Where are you up next?
Josh Jacobs has got to get back. Jalen Hurts. I'll just go with the quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts would have been my next pick. I absolutely agree with that. Jalen Hurts. I mean, he's my quarterback one.
So you're telling me you'll take Josh Jacobs over Josh Allen? This is ridiculous.
Absolutely. Just based on the quarterbacks. This is the quarterbacks I can get later on. That's why I push these quarterbacks. Of course, if I'm picking the best player, I would have taken these quarterbacks first. It's just the format that we're in. All right.
So Jalen Hurts, very, very good situation. Eagles scored the most points last season. Even if they regress some, they should still be a top 5 scoring offense this year. He runs the ball a lot. Quarterback that you're easily betting to get double-digit rushing touchdowns just because they designed so many plays for him to create in space, whether it's just the play action or just direct QB runs. Plus, he just has that cheat code on the goal line play. Whenever they get in within 2 yards, they're going to huddle up. They're going to get in tight, and Jalen Hurts is going to crawl right through the middle. I don't know how they do it, but it gets done every time. So they have, some cheat codes available for him, and just a guy that they're going to use a ton also on the ground. Improved as a passer in year 2 with AJ Brown coming over. Offense looks great. deep group. Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, we already mentioned, and a bevy of deep running backs.
We will wrap it up here with Chris Olave. A lot of advanced metrics last year suggest he even had a better season than Garrett Wilson. Kind of had his breakout at the beginning, faded a little bit down the stretch. I think Derek Carr will, provide a little bit more of a baseline talent back at the quarterback position. Going to be a little bit safer floor now for Chris Olave. What kind of Michael Thomas, I guess, are we going to see is the real question for Chris Olave. Is he going to be the dominant target monster that he was, or even something close to that? Because that could hamper Chris Olave's production. With that, we'll wrap it up because we're going to be just doing another back-to-back episode, so you're more than welcome to join us. We're going to be doing 26 through 50, but we'll break it up on probably the Apple Podcast feed and things like that if you catch these podcasts there. So thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Justin, you got anything to shout out before we head off here?
Just a little disrespect to Josh Allen. I just don't get it. I don't get it, but we'll get into it. We're about to.
He's not far away. Oh, my goodness. We'll get into Josh Allen very quickly on the next episode. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody.